Hello everyone, my name is Joelle and welcome to this video on supported headstand or bound headstand. So we're going to be working today on getting into it properly, step by step, getting over our fears a little bit. I would recommend, if possible, that you practice in front of a couch or a bed or a thick stack of pillows. I prefer this to working with a wall, and I'll explain why later. We're going to be working first on stretching our neck, stretching our hamstrings, working our shoulders and core, basically every element that we need in order to get upside down. So if you're ready, I'm going to get right side up and I will see you on the mat. All right, so we're going to begin standing. Bring your feet together, squeeze the legs tightly, engage through the glutes in order to tuck the tailbone under. Keep your core engaged by pulling the navel towards the spine, and just notice your alignment here. Notice how your body is able to hold itself up in a straight line. Then bring one hand to the top of the head, press the head into the hand, memorize the feeling of where on the head the hand is actually touching. You could also balance a book here if you prefer. And then let's interlace the hands, bring them behind the head, and press the forearms up towards the ceiling. I'll just turn to the side here so you can see. So pressing the forearms towards the ceiling, keeping that core engaged, squeezing the legs together. We are now in an upside down headstand. So again, keep this alignment, memorize this feeling in your mind. And now just start swaying from side to side. You can take the legs apart. You can bring the gaze right to left just to start warming up through the neck as well. You can give yourself a little pat on the back on each side for trying something new today. We're just warming up through the spine, through the hips here, keeping the core engaged. And then we can slow down that motion and make our way back to center. And now let's open the arms out into a diagonal. And we're going to curve forward. So curving, rounding through the upper spine here, still keeping that core engaged. Maybe bending through the knees a little bit. We're just going to do 5 total. So 3 more here, opening up, spreading through the collarbone and closing, rounding through the upper back. So again, we're just warming up the part of the spine, especially the upper back, that needs to ideally dome forwards a little bit to hold us up when we get into our headstand. Last one, closing. Very nice. So staying standing for now, place both hands onto the chest, holding the collarbone down, keeping the spine upright. And let's just bring the chin to the chest and then rotate to one side and to the other side here. Keep going here. So holding the collarbone down makes sure that we are keeping our shoulders down, which is so important in headstand. And then you can take the head back, so bring the nose towards the ceiling, and then just take the chin forward. So back and forwards a couple more times, just stretching through the neck and throat. I also have a 10-minute neck stretch video, which I will link below if you're interested in working a little bit more on this area. Beautiful. Shake out the shoulders a little bit. And now we're going to stretch the hamstrings, so you can place your hands on your shins or maybe on your couch or bed, whatever you're using, or you might have the ability to bring the fingertips or palms to the floor. We're going to bend the knees and then straighten. So just warming up the hamstrings, which, while that isn't necessary for headstand itself, it's really going to help us come up into our headstand a little bit more easily later on. So again, you could have your hands on your shins, you could place the fingertips on the floor, just bending and straightening the knees a couple of times here, feeling through the hamstrings, warming up the back of the legs. And then you can bring the knees down to the floor. We're just going to come onto our backs for a couple of core strengthening exercises. So we're going to start with some traditional sit-ups, bringing the hands behind the head. You can place the feet flat on the mat, and we're going to bring the nose up towards the ceiling and back down. Keep the core tight. So again, pull the navel in towards the spine. Having a strong core is really I think, the most important element in terms of holding a headstand. It's really the center of our body that is holding us in place, similar to when we're actually standing right side up on the ground. Very nice. And then staying in that sit-up position, just touch one ankle and then the other with the hand. So just swaying side to side a little bit, warming up through our obliques. They're important too. Our core moves in all sorts of directions, and we want to be able to stay straight once we get up into our headstand. We're going for about 20 here, but just go at your own pace. And then you can set the head back down, extend the legs, squeeze them together tightly again, point through the toes, lift the feet just an inch or two off the mat, engaging through the core, and then we're going to interlace the hands behind the head again and press the forearms away from the hips. So we've already done our upside down headstand when we were standing. Now we are in a supine headstand. So again, we're mimicking that feeling, that alignment of being in one straight line with the core holding us in place, legs together, and the forearms pressing away from the hips. Very good, and we can release that. Come onto hands and knees. And we're going to be doing some scapula push-ups. So the shoulders are right above the wrists, the hips are above the knees. And we're just going to do sinking the chest, towards the ground, and then pressing the floor away as again you dome back through that upper back. So keep going at your own pace. You can imagine that your shoulder blades are sort of like curtains that are spreading apart and then closing as you lower towards the ground and then press away. So getting that upper back engaged, still keeping the core engaged, never forget about that. And if you want a little bit more of a challenge, you can tuck the toes under and lift the knees and continue those little scapula push-ups for a couple more seconds here. It's definitely tougher with the knees off the ground. And I do also have a shoulder video, so check out the description box below if you feel like shoulder mobility is a limiting factor for you. Really good. And then you can bring the knees back to the ground and we'll come into child's pose. So the reason that I like practicing in front of a couch, or certainly in front of a softer surface, let's say, rather than a wall, if you just take a quick peek at the screen, I'll show you what that looks like. So when we're practicing in front of a wall, there's a tendency to want to aim for the wall with our feet, and that pulls us out of our straight alignment. Whereas if we have a couch behind us or something like that and we do fall, then we know that we've got something nice and soft to catch us there, no big deal, and we can still focus on aiming for that straight line. Of course, if it really is too scary for now, you can try a few times on the wall first, and then eventually graduate towards the couch. So at this point, we've warmed up our neck, our hamstrings, we've engaged our shoulders and core, basically all of the elements that we'll need for our headstand. So let's go ahead and try it. So now we can start by coming down onto the forearms and just check by holding opposite elbows how far apart your elbows actually are. So we want to keep them in this position as we then interlace the hands together, place those on the floor, and you're going to place the top of the head, cradling it between the hands. So remember that spot where the book or your hand was balanced earlier, and then press through the shoulders to lift the head an inch or two off the floor. Just try that one more time. So this is reminding us that actually about 70% of the weight should be in our forearms when we're doing headstand, despite the name. We're not just dumping into the head and neck. And then you can tuck the toes under and just lift the knees up. So just staying here. This is actually kind of a harder position to hold than actual headstand. And then we can start to maybe walk the toes in an inch at a time. And this is where those open hamstrings come in handy, getting us as close as we can, bringing the toes towards the head. So keep the core engaged here, press through those forearms like we did before, pull the shoulders down towards the hips. I prefer to think of it that way rather than saying bring the shoulders up or down, because that gets confusing once we're working on our inversions. So at this point, you are already in a headstand. So first of all, congratulations, and this is a great place to be and to practice. And you might then pull one knee into the chest by lifting the foot, place it down, and try the other knee, pulling that in towards the chest, set it down, and let's just come back to child's pose. So child's pose is always an option. Anytime you'd like to come down, the safety of the floor is always available to you. You can hang out here as long as you like before maybe trying again, and just breathing deeply. And if you are ready to move on, again, place the forearms, check the width of the elbows, interlace those fingers. I like to keep both pinkies on the floor, just for a little bit of extra surface. Cradle the top of the head between the hands, straighten the legs, maybe walk them in a little bit, and you can stay here. You might bring one knee to the chest, or if you're ready, you can engage through the core, squeeze the glutes, and with a little bit of momentum, you might bring that second knee in. And again, you could just stay here holding this tuck position. Again, I actually find this harder than full headstand, but it's a great place to be when we're first learning, just proving to ourselves that our core, our back, and our shoulders can support the weight of the rest of the body. And if this feels scary, that's totally normal when doing something for the first time. So let's just come back to that child's pose again. Lowering one set of toes to the mat and following it up with the other set. Always remind yourself of the option to come down. And let's try that one more time. So again, forearms coming to the mat, checking the width between them, placing the crown of the head, pressing through the forearms, remember 70% of the weight. And as we tuck the toes under and lift the hips, we're thinking about pulling the shoulders towards the hips in that direction. We step our feet in, we maybe pull one knee to the chest, and we might stay here. We might come back down into child's pose, or again, we might make our way into that tuck headstand by bringing the second knee in to join the first. And holding here, again, engaging through our core. If you feel like you're ready, you can pull all the way up, but we're going to take one more practice run. I'm going to talk us through that. And again, one set of toes can come down once you're ready, and find that child's pose once more. Again, keep congratulating yourself, keep giving yourself those pats on the back for trying something a little bit different today. And I think we're ready. So again, we're going to place the crown of the head, pull ourselves up into that tuck position if we're ready for that. And if we're ready for a little bit more, we can point the toes and start pulling them away from the head towards the ceiling. So pulling the toes away from the shoulders, pulling the shoulders down towards the hips. Remembering our alignment here, our core is active, our tailbone is tucked, keeping the gaze on one fixed point. And the final challenge here is to smile, because you are in a headstand. And again, if you're not quite there with us yet, keep working wherever you are, whether that is keeping the toes on the ground, whether it's pulling one knee into the chest, and whenever you are ready to come back down, pull the knees back down together, keeping the legs squeezed together, and then you can place one set of toes onto the mat, follow it up with the other one, and roll back through child's pose, sitting up on the knees. And we're just going to take hold of opposite elbows behind the back and nod the head. So bring the nose to the ceiling and then nod the chin towards the chest. Just a couple of head nods here, just releasing any potential tension that's built up in the neck. And once you're ready, you can let go of the shoulders, let go of the elbows. And you can make your way into child's pose. Always follow up a headstand with child's pose, just to give the body a chance to kind of sink into what we were just doing. So well done, you did fantastically today, maybe getting into your first ever headstand. And again, if you didn't quite get up there, no problem. Keep practicing. It's a great exercise, not only to accomplish headstand itself, but a great exercise for patience and for being proud of yourself for trying something new, challenging yourself in a different way. Let me know in the comments if you'd like another video perhaps on tripod headstand where the hands are on the floor rather than the forearms. If you like this video, please do hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. New videos every Monday and Thursday. Thank you for practicing with me today. Great job, and I'll see you soon. Namaste.